My name is Yusuf Nwadi, and I'm a passionate Rwandan entrepreneur. 7 years ago, I decided not to go to college and instead dive deep into entrepreneurship and solve one of the biggest problems that the African continent is facing. 7 years later, we're building one of the largest job simulation platforms on the African continent. And the best part, I'm not alone on this journey. Every day, I get to meet extremely talented people who are building solutions for some of the most challenging problems that the African continent is facing. So I decided to launch this podcast as a way to bring these conversations to life and share them with you all. On this podcast, you'll meet amazing people and discover what they're building. We'll hear their stories, learn from their experiences, and get inspired. So if you're like me and you're excited about discovering the cool technologies being built in Africa, then you've come to the right place. Welcome to What I'm Building with me as your host. Today, we're diving in the world of healthcare technology. How did you end up in Canada?
A lot of young people are healthy and they take it for granted. No, it's not gonna stay like that.
Developing countries have a problem of shortage of doctors and healthcare professionals. So what's the biggest issue they were facing? They didn't know. A doctor, if you are consulting somebody for 10, 15 minutes, then you should be able to. 3 years later, I lost a baby in that same hospital. That's when I say, I'm gonna solve this problem now.
The winner is Karisimbi Technology Solutions.
Angelo's diverse background isn't just a series of live events. It's a toolkit for entrepreneurial success. All right, Angelo, thanks a lot for making it to the podcast, man. Before we dive deep into what you're building today, just want to give a bit of background on how you and I know each other. We met a couple of years ago when you and I participated in a competition, the Hunger Pitch Fest, where you and I were both in the top 5 that we really got to just talk in general about entrepreneurship on the African continent. So I just want to have a conversation around getting to understand your background, getting to understand your journey in entrepreneurship. I think my first question is, who is Angelo? How did you grow up? And what are some of the key events in your life that shaped you into the man that you are today?
So Angelo is, I'm Rwandan. I was born in 1990. And I will say that my childhood was quite painful because that's when the country was undergoing, serious problems. And I think that's when I think about my childhood, that's what marked my childhood. But again, and before I do what I'm doing today, which is running a company, an IT company, basically a startup, I was in hospitality. Hospitality is a field that I always liked, but I was also doing the side things. I did entrepreneurship. I worked at a management consulting company. After that, I basically, worked and I had the chance to travel. That's how I ended up in Canada, working in hospitality exactly. And it was a fantastic opportunity. So me, I'm Rwandan and I'm having fun.
First of all, I want to understand, how did you end up in Canada? Did you get a scholarship? Do you have family there? What's the story for you to get to Canada?
Hospitality is a good sector because it doesn't take a lot in terms of skills. It's very easy for you to get a job. So my first job was, I was washing glasses in a bar. So that's how I got started. And from there, I went to other various places in town. For example, I worked at, there used to be a bar near the city of Kigali Hall, where it's built. It was called Downtown. So that I also worked there a bit. And then from there, I went to the Manor Hotel. And from the Manor Hotel, that's where I met some of the customers. They were very impressed and they told me, why do you work very hard? I was working double shift, trying to make an extra buck. And they were very happy with me. And they told me, what, if you come to Canada, you can make more money than what you're making here. Are you ready? I thought they were just joking. But in the end, it happened. So when I reached in Canada, I was very impressed. And what I learned is that for developed countries where they are, it's because they worked and they made a lot of sacrifices. So there, my entrepreneurship spirit was kindled because, like I mentioned, I think I was just born to be an entrepreneur, really. I was trying to go to college, didn't work out. I always believed that I needed a good education.
For what reason? Why didn't it not work out?
Because of my visa. So I had an employment visa. Coming from Rwanda, you don't want to break the law. So I came back here in Rwanda because of those reasons. And I also had secured a scholarship at a school called Kepler.
You went to Kepler?
I went to Kepler for a year. I was doing a degree in communications, business communications at Kepler, with management courses, of course. But when I joined the University of Kigali, I did computer science.
So how was that transition for you from that sector to computer science? And how did you think about where you could use those skills for it?
I had joined the hospitality sector because it was the easiest sector to get started into, but also some of my family members had done that. So transitioning from the hospitality sector to the IT sector was relatively easy for me. And I had a lot of passion. I wanted to do things. I wanted to be creative. So I think, that's a bit about it.
What do you think is the importance of school? Because, for example, myself, I work in the sector where basically what we're trying to do is fight youth unemployment, right? Yes. Build solutions for that. So I deal a lot with schools, right? Essentially, and I deal a lot with students who are going to schools and graduates and stuff like that. So I would love to understand, like, what do you think is the importance of school in terms of succeeding in life?
I believe that schools contribute at least 70% of a human being's success in today's current age. The reason I say that is because, number one, schools are very good environments in terms of structure. Human knowledge is transferred. That's what we call civilization. Civilization is basically, has education as its foundation. And education exactly translates to transfer of civilization. Like, it acts as a catalyzer for a country's development. Number two, school provides connections. But there are some special cases of people who are really brilliant. It happens. I don't know how it happens. It's just a fact. And those people have the capacity to progress faster, right, than the current education system. So if you are such a person, I recommend that you go out there and do something you love. And create value in the world.
It depends on the kind of education we're talking about, right? Because, again, as I mentioned, the sector that we're in, I see a lot of graduates, right?
Yusuf, I would disagree. Please.
I think
do not provide that advice because
So here's the thing.
When you look at the list of individuals who have such capacity, they are probably less than 1%.
That's true. But there's a very strong but.
Yeah.
I believe that if you're able to identify that thing, right, I would say go all in, right? Because I think I really like what Elon Musk says is that, succeeding at school does not necessarily mean that you're going to succeed in life. It just means that you're very good at retaining information.
There is no correlation.
Yeah, basically just at doing tasks. Yeah. It's like doing what you're asked to do, especially in 90% of the universities or schools. Yeah. It's like they basically just ask you, hey, I'm going to teach you about this, fundamentals of whatever, and then that's what I'm going to ask in the exam. So whoever knows how to cram all that information the best actually succeeds. Not a lot of schools. I mean, we're starting to see a lot of universities that are focused on creativity, critical thinking, saying there's no right way of doing something.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I'm going to present to you a problem, and it depends on the way that you approach it.
Find your own way of solving it. Yeah.
Exactly. And I believe that if we keep talking to schools, right, and saying, hey, how do we instill this kind of mindset in people? Because that's essentially, by the time you graduate, when you come to the job market, when I give you a job, I'm not going to ask you, hey, here's a manual. And then there's no marks. I'm not going to be marking you.
Yeah.
I'm going to be observing how do you approach problems, right? Yeah. There's going to be problems that I've never encountered and you're going to encounter them. So the thing is that your ability to be able to solve problems and think critically is what's going to set you apart and, make you a success in life.
The skills and perspectives gained from different industries can be your greatest assets. They provide a unique lens through which to identify and solve problems, enriching your entrepreneurial journey. Entrepreneurs often excel when they solve problems they've personally faced. Angelo's startup, Karisimbi, is a testament to this.
Take me through the journey of building Karisimbi Tech. Who are you building it for?
You know, when you're a person, you have some blessings that young people tend to ignore. Like a lot of young people are healthy and they take it for granted. No, it's not gonna stay like that. The older you grow, the more hospital visits you will make. Probably.
That's true.
Probably not for yourself, but also for people you care about. Because the older you grow, I think the more responsibilities you get in terms of taking care of other people. So in 2016, I was in that same situation, and I was taking a close family member to the hospital. She had a broken foot, and we spent a whole day, starting from 9 a.m. all the way to 5 p.m. And we had not yet seen a doctor. And the whole waiting line was only like 45 people because I counted. So I did math. I said in 9 hours or 8 hours, if we haven't met a doctor and we are only like 40 people, it's a problem. I already had prior knowledge that we have developing countries have a problem of shortage of doctors and healthcare professionals. So I felt that there was a problem somewhere. Like a doctor, if you are consulting somebody for 10, 15 minutes, then you should be able to at least every hour consult 4 or 5 people. So within 9 hours, you'd have gone through all the 45 people. But I think that day the doctor only consulted like 10, 13 people. So we end up going to a different hospital and a private hospital because this was a public hospital. And I think they had a bigger traffic of people because it's more affordable. They are better equipped. So they have a lot of demand. We end up going to a private hospital and we were served. But although my problem was, out of the way, I would say, but I kept wondering how the other people who could not afford the hospital that I afforded. The next morning, I went back to that public hospital. What I did was I interviewed the staff. Why are you using a paper and you have a computer? And the first lady looked at me as if I was crazy, and she's like, "Who are you?" She was like, "Is this guy crazy?" But she took a few minutes to explain to me, telling me that, there are things she does on the computer and there are other things she has to do manually. For example, one of the things she was doing manually was computing invoices, calculating, looking in a book of a price list of services that are provided, using a calculator, add them up, and then writing on a piece of paper and handing it to the patient. My analysis that day was that it was taking about 30 to 45 minutes at every door or at every department that a patient was going through. So I kept thinking about it, and I invited people, we talked, and I started making the map of a potential solution to that problem, because it was very clear that information management was the biggest issue they were facing. They didn't know it. 3 years later, I lost a baby in that same hospital. That's when I said, I'm going to solve this problem now. My daughter was having seizures. She was born with respiration problems, and she was having seizures. And what I was doing was trying to fit back in her nasal tubes. And it was just not a good job that I was doing. So I was crying for help. And the rest was saying, "You know what? No, I can't really help you. She's probably going to die. I'm sorry. But if she dies, maybe I can save." There were about 40 young babies. I can probably save the under 44 or 43. But I think your daughter with those seizures, I think I'm going to focus on this, because these babies also they will need help. And if I don't do this job, their risk of death is also going to increase. And I said, "Oh my God, I wish there was just a software to do this and she didn't have to tell me this, And so I made it my mission. That same year, I quit my job. And I started working on it full time. So it was a difficult decision, but I was passionate. I wanted to do this, and I always believed that if you want to do something, you don't have to wait for the perfect conditions, because they never appear.
The resilience to overcome challenges and the passion to drive change are often rooted in personal experience. It is not just a business, it's a mission. Starting a venture is an exciting milestone, but what comes next?
So, you realize a big problem. You realize that you have that drive of entrepreneurship. What was the early version of Karisimbi Tech?
So the early days were a lot of struggle trying to validate the problem, because every problem is probably not a good business opportunity. So I spent a lot of time trying to really understand if what I perceived, my hypothesis basically, was true. So that involved, number one, talking to people who work in the sector, doctors, nurses, both on the private and on the public side, because I picked up knowledge along the way, understanding how the industry works. So the product it increases efficiency. What it does is accelerating the process of care administration. For the hospital that does not use our product, when a patient comes for treatment, they have to write the information on a piece of paper and store it in a room somewhere, in a cabinet. On an average, when I look at the hospitals that we have in our country, on average, a hospital that has been around, let's say, for 3-4 years, they process about 1,000 patients every month. So every month you are processing 1,000 patients. Maybe only 70 or 50% of them are old cases. There are people who are returning. So every month you have at least 500 new documents you have to store. Within 10 years, it's become a huge problem. All of this wealth of information that you can't easily extract and analyze and understand what's been happening. So what Sana Health does is that it takes that information, it provides a digital file. What it does is just makes things faster. In the sense, for example, when a patient comes for the second time to the hospital, if they have been here before, searching for their information takes 5 seconds, at most 10 seconds. With traditional systems, you can spend hours on one person. So we just saved 59 minutes and probably 55 seconds from one person. If you have 40 people, that's 40 hours that you just saved. So the platform, our product, basically helps doctors and nurses to store information in an electronic format, which makes it easy for them to access again in the future when they need to access it, which also does the heavy lifting when it comes to data analysis. Things like how many patients did we receive in the past 13 months, 14 months, 2 months? How much money did we make in this period of time? What department outperformed other departments? Who is the doctor who processes the most patients, patient cases? But also understanding in general the public health of the country, where the government needs to make more efforts. If you have to wait for a health report for more than 12 months, something is very, very wrong.
I mean, to me and to anybody watching or listening, it sounds like a very obvious problem and a very obvious solution, right? So, which means obvious success, right? Has it been easy for you to build? Has it been easy? So what are the realities of building it in the healthcare space?
Well, during the early days of Karisimbi, I started it with a friend of mine, and we were very broke. And he didn't have any money himself. I didn't have any money myself. So we went around, we found our other friends, we brought them on board, very young, smart people. Then when we went to the Ministry of Health to pitch our idea that we wanted to build a tech company, a health tech company, they said, why you? There are so many people who failed with lots of capacity, with very good education background, with money, investment, with impressive resumes, with impressive everything. And yeah, they were right. Convincing people to adopt your solution is not going to be easy, because some of these people are even highly placed and they don't have time even to listen to you. They've seen better, they've seen more, they have better experience, and convincing them is not going to be easy. Given that it's a tough problem, complex problem, I need support. And I ended up going at a coaching program called BPN. And BPN was very instrumental in my self-organization as an entrepreneur, because what they try to do is they try to create professional entrepreneurs, people who look at entrepreneurship as a professional career, also thinking long term. So, for example, one of our philosophies, like the philosophies I borrowed from BPN, is that I'm building Karisimbi for the next 300 years. So being a good entrepreneur, that's basically what it means. And this is what I would say BPN has taught us. That was a big contribution. That changed my perspective on entrepreneurship. It's driving the success and the growth of Karisimbi, which is, I would say, good, because since 2018, from a bootstrapped company, a one-man company, now we have more than 30 hospitals that we are serving. We have established ourselves as industry experts and leaders, and it's coming, right? We're still building that. And we've also hired and provided opportunities collectively to more than 40 people, I would say. And today, Karisimbi has between 17 and 20 employees. At least 50% of them are full-time. So about 10, 11 people. They are full-time people. And I'm just 33 years old.
Entrepreneurship isn't just about business. It's about the person behind it. This personal touch often translates into a business that's not just profitable, but also impactful.
So there might be somebody listening here or watching this this conversation between me and you, and they're somewhere in Africa and they're either interested in becoming an entrepreneur themselves, or they have an idea, or they don't, but they're like, okay, I need to contribute to my society. I need to solve problems in my community, right? And I'm listening to Angelo's story and I'm really inspired. There's a few elements where I can connect.
So
what would you advise them?
Don't be an entrepreneur.
Why is that?
That's a philosophical answer, because it will find you. Don't go out there chasing it. If it finds you, go with it, run with it. But actually, as you identify problems, try and solve them. Have fun. Try to have fun. What I would recommend to especially young people, be good entrepreneurs. Not entrepreneurs, but intrapreneurs. So if you get a job, please do it to the best of your capabilities. If you're supposed to work 8 hours, work 16. Please. Work on that job 16 hours. If you really think entrepreneurship is something you want to venture in, don't try and work because your boss is looking at you. If you do that, you are just stupid and dumb. Because if you go in entrepreneurship, you are your own boss. Among the people you have to manage, you also have to manage yourself. That's probably one of the hardest things you can do, managing yourself, disciplining yourself. When nobody tells you to wake up at 8 a.m. in the morning to be at your workplace, if you can discipline yourself to do that, then be an entrepreneur. Wherever you are, make sure that you're just serious and you're spending your time on creating value beyond your own self.
What is Angelo doing when he's not working?
I'm always working.
Okay. Interesting. What's your favorite dish?
God, that's a tough one. I have a lot of favorite dishes, but my favorite dish is chicken tikka masala with rice. Yeah.
What would you be doing if you're not an entrepreneur?
I like teaching. Yeah, I like teaching, and I've done it a few times. For example, Vatel, which is a university, one of the great universities that we have in the country. But I don't think I'll be doing. So recently, a few days ago, I looked at myself and be like, I was born to build Karisimbi.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit that like button, share, and subscribe to our channel. See you next time.